This is Providence Television International, the toast of today's television viewers. Don't be left out.
And this is the newspaper analysis on the morning drive, Providence Television International. My name is Ugbebo Ikekwa, and with me in the studio this morning is Dr. Emmanuel Igariba. You're welcome.
Always so happy to be here, and I wish you a very happy weekend. Thank you.
Well, we have quite a lot lined up for you as regards the front page of the newspapers. But before we do that, let's take this commercial break.
Eight hearty cheers to our beloved monarch. I wish on behalf of my family and friends to joyfully congratulate our revered monarch and royal father, His Majesty Omonoba Eware II, the Oba of Benin, on the occasion of his 8th coronation anniversary. Umogun, I find it particularly expedient to rejoice with you in the knowledge that you have persistently been a rallying point for all people of goodwill, an eminent symbol of enduring values. My joy is that your passion for the protection of our collective heritage has never been in doubt. In words and deeds, you have stood out as a traditional ruler of great rank, thereby earning for yourself a proud place in our national life. Your Majesty, I'm very proud of your various roles in the development of our state, and I pray that the Almighty Father and our ancestors will grant you many more years of peace and happiness. Once again, congratulations. Oba Atokbe Ise, signed, Right Honorable Dr. Samson Osage, former Minority Whip, House of Representatives.
Well, like we would always say, down here where our studios are situated, in the state where the studios are situated, Edo State, especially the Benin Kingdom, Oba Atokbe.
Yes, Oba Atokbe is
and so we'll move straight to the front page of the Saturday Punch, where we have quite a story that, well, it might rub off on some people negatively, but this is not intended to actually indict anybody. But it says on the front page of the Saturday Punch, morgues overflow as families abandon corpses in pursuit of lavish funerals.
Well, that must be very close to the masthead, quite distinct from the screaming headline. But it's also a headline story. And yes, it's bad enough when people abandon the corpses of their loved ones, and now they go on to do all kinds of ceremonies. It's not good enough. It's not good enough because the dead must be respected, one way or the other. And we must learn to give people befitting burial, so to speak. So, but this is not good enough because some corpses are abandoned for up to a year in the morgues. And then they now ask for the authorities concerned now seek the pathway of mass burial, right? That's not good enough, particularly for people who have lived good lives, all right, with children, with grandchildren, sometimes with great-grandchildren. And then the children, they abandon their parents there, and their father and mother. It's not good enough. There was a story of, a very terrible story, really. The remains stayed in the morgue for about a year and a half. And so when they went to pick up the remains, they could not recognize the body. However, they brought the body home, and the family people said, no, this is not ours. They had to return it. I mean, such a ridiculous kind of thing. Yeah. So the children will have to blame the children of the deceased in these circumstances, and I don't think it's good for the moral fabric of this society. We must abide by what the good Lord says. Let's give the dead ones befitting burial, particularly parents. I'm not saying that the burial ceremony should be ostentatious. No, that's not what I'm saying. But the dead should be respected, all right, and we should give them a good repose.
If you remember, it was actually, there's an underlying tune, lavish funerals. I know some time ago you talked about these lavish celebrations and all that. It's a trend, actually. Today, so many people are getting ready to go for such lavish celebrations. Well, the Nigerian factor, we'll move to the Nation newspapers, where we have on the front page, federal government commences distribution of free CNG tricycles to cooperatives. The federal government seems quite interested in this.
They're interested because, well, they believe it's an alternative to PMS. But we have had an incident in Benin where everything burst and we had some kind of inferno. Right? But I just hope that these devices, machines by the federal government will not experience such things. I've been told that that one was fabricated. The one that happened in Benin, it was locally fabricated. But yes, why not? It's to be applauded. If it's going to take us far beyond what we're experiencing now for PMS. But I only just hope, I said it yesterday, that all government vehicles, even those in Abuja, will run on gas. If they run on fuel, on PMS, and they ask the rest of us to run on, what do you call it now?
On gas, yes.
Then that is some kind of subterfuge. That would be unacceptable because the leaders have to lead by example. That's my take.
All right, we'll move to the front page of the Saturday Vanguard. Nigerians tell Tinubu reject World Bank advice or risk implosion. And riders to that effect, World Bank advice misguided, insulting to millions of Nigerians. This is coming from Action Aid. And federal government reforms are harsh, elitist, and unsustainable. This is coming from Professor Ray Madu. And Nigerians say many people on the streets are walking corpses.
Walking corpses?
Yeah.
Well, that's too graphic. But, well, maybe that's what it is. All right? In many areas, people are dying because they are hungry. Many are committing suicide because they cannot cope anymore. All right? But the question is, for how long will the World Bank continue to dictate to us what we must do? The reason is we are tied to their apron strings. When an economy is badly managed or mismanaged, that's what happens. When the economy is badly managed, then you run to the World Bank. And they are happy to give out loans because they want to tie you to their apron string. They want to dictate who comes into power. They want to dictate how your economy is run. They want to dictate the value of your currency. That's what a lot of developing countries, particularly in Africa, that's what they experience. And look at the terms, for instance. And I'm happy, though, that a lot of people have reacted very strongly to that. The World Bank is even saying that the present hardship will continue for about 15 years.
For the next 15 years, yeah.
Who is going to stay alive? For how many people will stay alive for 15 years with what we are going through now? And you are not even too sure if the thing will get worse. For 15 years, that is really assaulting, not even insulting. Yeah. They are assaulting the sensibilities of Nigerians, which is terrible. Our government, in fact, should respond to that kind of thing. If that's the agreement they have with the World Bank, it's unfortunate, right? Because what that means is even after the exit of President Tinubu, the hardship should continue. Whereas governments can make things better along the line. What makes them think that the situation cannot change for the better with a little bit more pressure somewhere? So it's total outrage, and I'm happy that Nigerians are reacting to it appropriately.
We'll see the situation where loans are collected. This time it has become a norm for us to become indebted, and these loans are never ever used for the purposes that they are stated for.
That's a tragedy, really. If loans are taken and they are used for the purpose, we won't have a problem. And it happens in many African countries. That's what happens. And that's where you have leaders building all kinds of fantasia, what they call mansions and all sorts of things. They just live flamboyant life. Okay? It's happening everywhere in the continent of Africa. Something happened the other day. It was so graphically put. It was a cartoon. African leaders were going to a place, I think in Europe, with pot bellies. And they are the debtors.
Yes.
Their creditors were very slim. Well, I had a great laugh, that day. It graphically described what is going on. You, the debtor, you are going with fat bellies, overfed. But your creditors who are making you survive, they are slim, keeping fit. So that's what it is. It's a total disregard for norms, international norms. And I believe that we should depart from this. If there are radical reforms, people should not die because of radical reforms. Right? Okay, that's what I think.
All right, we'll move to the front page of the Leadership Weekend, where we have Gowon at 90. Leaders recommit to nation's unity, development. Elder statesman served meritoriously. This is coming from Tinubu. And he made invaluable contributions to Nigeria's advancement, Buhari affirms.
Well, I do not think that Gowon is a controversial figure as such. I do not think so. Oh, wonderful gentleman, very pious. And he came at a point when Nigeria was at a crossroads. He came as a very young man at the age of 32. Became to today still the youngest head of state that we have had. And he was promoted, I think, from lieutenant colonel to general. He skipped a few positions in between. Look at that picture there. Wonderful young man as the head of state. He fought the war. He also ended the war back in 1970. All right. So, but there are a few things around him that people do not quite like, that he didn't leave when he should have left. And he went on and on and on until he was removed by Murtala Muhammad, okay, in 1975. But he was on, I think, for about 9 years.
9 years.
So Gowon is one of the people I really admire because of his simplicity. And look at it. When he left as the head of state, he went back to the university. And he got his PhD from Warwick in England. So he was very humble. Very humble till now. You know, he has an NGO called Nigeria Praise.
Yes.
Yes, and he must tie that to his pedigree. He came from a very strong Christian background. And he married, incidentally. I always like to talk about this. Look at the picture there.
Yeah.
That was in 1969, I think. Yes, he got married to Victoria, beautiful young woman, a nurse, who was in her 20s. And I was there that day. Please, let's still keep the picture on. I was there. It happened that I was a very young boy. Out of curiosity, I went there to see it.
Okay.
Yes. I went there to see it. I was born in Lagos, so I went there to see it. I was in primary school.
Okay.
I went there to see this marriage. It was held at Christ Church Cathedral on Marina Street.
Okay.
That church is still there. And all the big military people were there. I remember I saw Camp Salem, who was the Inspector General of Police. Akinwale Way was the head of the Navy. He was there at that ceremony. A young man, you know, good looking. But a lot of eyebrows were raised.
Okay.
People like the late Adekunle, Black Scorpion, they were fighting in the war. I mean, Obasanjo, for instance, they were fighting in the war front. And they said, this young man, while we were fighting in the war, facing all kinds of problems, is getting married in Lagos. That created some ripples, really. Yes. But he had to get married anyway. The first head of state as a bachelor. Yes. He also has that record.
Quite some firsts.
Yes,
to him.
First. A lot of firsts.
Yes.
He had that first. He was a bachelor, a young man. It's now connected from Sandhurst. He was brought in from Sandhurst, okay, to come and be head of state. But far beyond that, we can always remember him as the man who created 12-state structure, the 12-state structure in this country. And we can read out the names of some of those states: Northwestern State, Northeastern State, with headquarters in Maiduguri, Kano State, North Central, Benue Plateau, all right, Kwara, Western State, Lagos State, Midwest, where Ogbemudia held sway, East Central State, Kwabi Asika. You remember, we also had some other states, for instance, we had Rivers and Cross River State. And I also remember vividly, I mean, we used to go through this during quiz competitions. One of the primary school, for instance. Yes, Musa Usman, I want to reel out the names of some of the governors then. Okay. Military governor. Musa Usman was in Northeastern State. Audu Bako was the commissioner of police. He was in Kano. Gunwalk, another police officer, Benue Plateau. All right. Bemudia was here as a colonel in Midwest. Mobolaji Johnson was in Lagos. All right. Oluwole Rotimi was in Oyo State, Ibadan. Abba Kyari was also there. Most of them are late now. We remember David Bamboye, he was in Kwara State. And, of course, the Dieter Spieth. The Dieter Spieth was the youngest governor we've ever had. I think at 27. Okay. Yes, I think I'm correct. As the military governor of Rivers. Dieter Spieth. He was the youngest at 27 years, a naval officer, and U.J. Swene in Cross River State. So these are the These are the people in East Central State, of course, we had Akpabio and Sika. The only civilian then who worked with government. So most of these people are all gone. Yes, they're all gone. I don't think there's anyone now who is alive except perhaps for the Spiff, who is a traditional ruler now back in Rivers. So go on, great man, humble man, self-effacing, who values the norms of the marriage institution, who also values the norms of religious piety. Okay. So that's going for you, and I want to say congratulations. I wish I could see him to have a handshake with him. Personally, he's one of the people I really do admire, not for anything else, but for his simplicity. At 90 years, I wish him congratulations, and many more years. I hope he attains. I pray that he attains the age of 100.
All right. I noticed there was quite a smile. That smile reminds, actually passed across a message. It reminded you of the good old times, what Nigeria used to be while you were talking about it.
Yes, because, he established the 12-state structure, and Nigeria was buoyant. Nigeria was very rich, very, very rich. It was during Gowon's time that we had Second Lord Africa Games, we had Festac and all of that, which people are using against him now, by the way, because he said, and he has not come out openly to say that he didn't say so. Said the money was so much that he didn't know what to do with it. And he was a young man, innocent young man in his 30s. So people were coming from all over the place. And in fact, we hosted even the OAU. Yes, I remember very well, Organization of African Unity. Unfortunately for him, he was attending the OAU meeting in Addis Ababa when he was overthrown by Murtala Mohammed, and he was led out quietly. He told the heads of government at the meeting that, please, that's a sad news coming from home. My government has just been overthrown, and please, I must leave this meeting. Even when people were telling him to stay back, he left quietly. Yes, and he went back. And today, Gowon is not living ostentatious life. Yes, he was born in the north, and from a very strong Christian background, he has lived it. Yes, you won't find him among. I don't think he has buildings upon buildings upon buildings in Abuja. No. It's not given to that. That is why, in fact, when he went back to the university, there was a picture which I always remember. He was carrying a plate as a student. Yes, back in university in Warwick. And he was carrying a student. The people back home were not particularly happy, right? That, no, a former head of state, why must he do that? He lined out with young people. But today he has his PhD, okay? Exactly. That's to the glory of God for him. And I want to thank him for having led Nigeria through the Civil War, first of all. He came out, tried to reconcile himself and all the other foes like Ojukwu and the rest. So it's some memories that keep coming back.
So would I be right that even some of the individuals who are actually commending him have a leaf to borrow from his lifestyle?
Of course, yes. Of course, simplicity, one of them. Tolerance. Yes, tolerance. Gowon did not, he was not hard on his opponents. No, he was not. He lived a very simple life indeed. And even though he was a military head of state, he was not overbearing. That I know very well, with benefit of hindsight. He was not overbearing at all. He was always smiling. Yes, the smiling Jack, they called him in those days. He was always smiling, playing with children and all of that. He was very friendly, very approachable. Okay? But this is perhaps his greatest undoing that he stayed for too long. I think about 9 years. And that's when Murtala Mohammed came, that he didn't abide by what he promised. Okay? So he had to leave.
Well, still on leaders, on the front page of the Weekend Trust. Front page of the Weekend Trust, the many controversies of Senate President Akpabio.
Controversies. I wish we could have some riders to that. But controversies, that has said it all. The man is loaded with controversies. Honestly, I mean, I've never seen this kind of thing in my life. From one to the other. And as a result of his utterances, most of the controversies around him, as a result of his utterances, I'm not even talking of the issues he has with AFCC and all of that. No, but his utterances. And I think as a leader, you must guide and guard what comes out of your mouth I don't want to reel out all the things he has been saying lately.
Yes.
Not too long ago, he said Nigerians who have 2, 3 cars should abandon 2 and use 1. How many cars has he abandoned as the Senate president? I'm not even talking of the official cars, his own personal cars. Yes. Usually when he goes along, you need to see Akpabio when he's going to the office. Yes, something was trending in social media the other day. I just thought we could capture it. More than 10 cars, all exotic cars. Yes. And that was a sign of an emperor, all right? He was going into the office. And these things demand that you should go quietly. Yes, maybe 1, 2 vehicles, you go quietly. A whole fleet of vehicles. Meanwhile, they are not, it doesn't concern them whether petrol, PMS is up to 5,000 a litre. No, it doesn't concern them because these things are there for them to use. How can you now, from your Olympian height, you are telling ordinary Nigerians who have 2 cars, maybe 1 for the man, 1 for the wife, to abandon 1 and be using 1? Doesn't make sense. And a lot of people have reacted, not just in the social media, even on the pages of newspaper, that he was attacking our sensibilities as a general insult to us. And I think that it should, maybe these are some of the things, the issue of impeachment and all that. Some of the people must have been saying this, that his utterances are not in sync with what is expected of a leader of the second arm of government.
Yeah, but just some days ago, the Senate actually passed a vote of confidence on him.
Well, maybe, the party structure is such that, oh, no, it belongs to our party and all of that. So anything goes. Yeah. That's why, in fact, they called it rubber stamp. You remember?
Yes.
Yes. So anything goes politically. I won't be surprised at that. Very soon now, the people who were calling for impeachment will be called dissidents. Right. So, but the man, I wish I could see him face to face and I'll tell him, no, please, Mr. President of Senate, that's not the way to go. The aides should also be telling him. The aides. Remember what he said some time ago? The microphone was on. You didn't know. And he said, please, we'll have something in your pigeonhole for your Christmas or something. How could you say that? Yes. How could you?
And then later on, he turned it to prayers.
To prayers.
Like
when everybody, what kind of thing is that? What kind of thing is that? And he said, Nigerians, the hungry Nigerians, go to where food is free.
Yes,
he said that. He said Akpabio.
Really, really insulting to the Nigerian masses.
There have been editorials on his comments. Editorials, newspaper, powerful editorials on his comments. Yes, which are becoming quite unbecoming. Right, of a Senate president. I mean, we've had many. We've had Wires, Second Republic. We've had Kadigbo, We've had Saraki, Senate president. We've had them in this country. None of them has behaved like this. None of them behaved like this. No.
Well, on the note of good news, by God's grace, starting off from next week, my boss just mentioned editorials. Providence Television will be very, very proud. We'll be starting off with the editorials by next week, so keep a date with us. As usual, we have so much lined up for your viewing pleasure. Once again, I want to say thank you so much for staying tuned. But just before we go, Doctor, you have a parting shot for us.
No, really. I mean, I'm just thinking that, yes, people should have a very pleasant weekend. It's not headline news all the time. People should go out, enjoy yourself if you can, but please stay out of the bottle. If you must drink responsibly. Thank you.
All right, well, on this note, I want to say, well, thank you so much for staying tuned on the newspaper analysis. The interview segment comes up next. Don't go away.